time for the meet and greet. Meet and greet. It's time for the meet and greet. Meet and greet. Proceed to the meet and greet.
Hello guys, welcome to Asavari's meeting show 33. We present our star speaker, Aaron Spring. So Spring is here in the true sense, and I want Aaron to introduce himself to you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me back. I love being on Asavari, so it's good to have 33 episodes in, and I think I've been on 4 or 5 already, so this is wonderful. My name's Aaron Spring. I'm a community servant and a philanthropist and elected official in the Ossining area of Westchester County. I strongly believe in good government and common sense, and I'm here as a private individual, not as a government official, and I'm here with my good friend Gargi, and we are going to talk about politics and topics and find some common sense solutions and not argue, because arguing gets us nowhere and solutions get us where we need to be.
Exactly. I completely agree with you, Aaron. And we have so many issues today, you know, from my table to your table, to your table, to the global platform. So let's first talk about the Mother's Day. So a very happy belated Mother's Day to your mother, first of all.
Thank you, and same to you.
Thank you. So Mother's Day is now observed around the world, with the majority of countries taking their lead from the US practice of celebrating it on the second Sunday of May. In 2022, this falls on 8th May, with almost 100 countries, including much of Europe, Africa, and South America, following the American system. I know that you are very much inclined to your mom, so my question is that what is a mother to you?
A great question. I mean, a mother to me is somebody who is caring and nurturing and loves their children and willing to do anything for their children, oftentimes putting themselves before their children. And that's not just a thought, it's a reality. I mean, we see it every day. Mothers working hard, some working more than one job to provide, going out of their way, always making sure the children eat first, sometimes before they can even eat, especially with younger children, taking care of, making sure the child is dressed well, making sure the child is clean, making sure the child has his education or her education and is getting their homework done. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think mothers do more for children than fathers. And I'm going to make that blanket statement out there just because I think mothers naturally have that inclination just to care more. And I'm not saying fathers don't. I think, obviously, I have a great relationship with my father, and he did so much for me as a child, still today at 24 years old. But I just feel like mothers do more. And I think you would agree with me there. It's the mothers who give birth. It's the mothers who, who carried you for 9 months. It's the mothers who, there's that motherly instinct, right? People always talk about that, and moms know the answer, and mom's always right, because it's true. I think I'm not trying to diss fathers here. I just think mothers do even more work, and I think they go above and beyond, and I think they do anything for their children. And mothers always have an uncanny way too of making things happen, sometimes when they even seem impossible. Always making sure that the child has the best life, always making sure that the child has what they need, and again, making impossible situations and making things possible. Getting projects done, school projects done, the night before, because the kid didn't tell the mother until the night before, and the mother has to, scramble and get it done. So we're always seeing sacrifices being made. Like I said, I have a friend who is a new mother, and they're always, making sure the child comes first, the child eats first, the child's being put to sleep first, the child always comes first. So I think that mothers are selfless. They give so much back, and we can't thank them enough. Every day should be Mother's Day, not just the one day in May. And we thank the mothers, we salute the mothers, and without you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. A quick question. Do you think that mothers can keep better secrets than fathers?
Oh yeah,
For example, if you're
absolutely.
sharing a secret to mom, then mom, you know what? I did this to a friend, or maybe he or she did this to me, But dad usually, oh, really? How come? How dare he could do
Right, right.
this?
I think fathers are also afraid of when the mother finds out that then they say, well, why didn't you tell me? So yes, I do think they can keep secrets well. And also, not only that, problem solve. I think mothers, men are very, and again, I don't mean to offend men here. We're very we jump to the point. We jump to a conclusion. We are impulsive, if you will.
Mhm.
Mothers, women tend to think about things, tend to approach things differently, not impulsively and not angrily. So I do think they can not only keep the secrets, but come up with a solution after thinking about it. Whereas a man, like you just said, is they're going to move on it, very impulsive, not much time to think. They just move. So I think that's another key too. Is women are more patient, and mothers are more patient and willing to problem solve.
I still recall a movie, Home Alone. So,
Yes.
how a mother brought the child home, and then, that is amazing. And what about the credit card expenses? If you say that, mom, I have spent this much of money, I mean, dad would say, oh, come on, you can't do that. So,
Right. The
how would
mother's the
your mother
mother's
react to
question.
that?
Right. The mother's question is, or the mother's concern is the child safe? Right. Not how much money was spent. The father's concern is, what the heck did he just do to my statement?
Yeah,
So
it's a huge credit card bill. That's what most families, I mean, they're kind of really concerned. They don't want the child to waste the money.
no, no, my child's not getting a credit card. They're getting a cash allowance, and when they run out, they better work for some more.
Right?
No unlimited credit card.
Exactly. So, since we are talking about a mother, and right now there is a very important issue, which is the abortion issue, and
Mhm.
there is a country-wide protest. So, let me just read a little bit what's going on, and then I'm going to ask you the question.
Sure.
So, abortion is legal throughout the United States and its territories, although restrictions and accessibility vary from state to state. Abortion is a highly controversial and divisive issue in the society and politics of the US, and anti abortion laws have been in force in each state. Since 1976, the Republican Party has generally sought to restrict abortion access based on the stage of pregnancy or criminalize abortion. Wow. Whereas the
Mhm.
Democratic Party has generally defended access to abortion and has made contraception easier to obtain. So, my question to you, because I'm representing the Democratic Party, you are representing the Republican Party, and both of us, we are belonging to registered Democratic Party and Republican Party. Also, we both are now actively in politics. So,
Mhm.
my question to you is, do you think that a rape victim or an unwanted physical relationship resulting into a pregnancy should be continued?
So I think I'll answer your question and then I'll go into my analysis. No, I don't think they should be continued. I think that's a case where choice is necessary. And I'll give you a couple other examples. Incest. I think when there's incest, I think there should be access to abortion. In other words, two family members having a child, conceiving a child. I think there should be abortion there. And I think when the mother's life is in danger, I think there should be abortion because you can't if the mother's going to die, if the mother's health is at risk. I think that's a key choice to make. And I also think it's important. There's two distinctions I want to make here. One is an abortion is a very personal and private decision, and it's a decision nobody wants to make. But we're putting so much pressure on these, especially young women, when they're in this position. And I think it needs to be more. We need to mind our business, if you will. I'm conservative. I don't think the Republicans are going to like my answer on this. I think we should really be staying out of abortion. I don't think it's a government issue. I think the government should have their hands off of our bodies. And should not be trying to control what we do. And I also think, here's my second point. We are now really classifying people in two ways. You're pro-choice, you're pro-life. I don't believe that. There's places, there's scenarios and cases I think it's a case by case situation where I'm pro life, and then there's a case by case situation where I'm pro choice. And I'll give you two examples here, right? Uh, somebody, is impregnated by their brother, and it's 3 weeks in. I believe in them having the ability to have an abortion. You're at that point, that's incest. Child is going to come out, screwed up. You have to have the abortion there. It's for actually the sanctity and the humanity of. It's a humane thing to do. It's for the sanctity of the child. You really don't want a child living like that. Here's where I'm pro life. 8 months into a pregnancy, nothing wrong with the child, nothing wrong with the mother, and you just choose to have an abortion because you don't want to have the kid. That's I'm pro-life there. So I take everything case by case. I don't fit in either camp. I'm not pro-choice 100%. I'm not pro-life 100%. I believe in case by case situations. Like give me a scenario and I'll tell you whether I'm pro-choice or pro-life. And I think that's really how we need to look at it too. I don't know all the science behind it. I like to believe that if a child can live on its own without support from the mother, then it's probably too late in the pregnancy to have an abortion, because then that to me means that's a living human being. Again, if the mother's life at that point is in danger and they're going to die if they have that child, or there's going to be complications, then I'm okay with being pro-choice. So I think the nation is too divided, and we're too much on this, binary scale of you're either pro-choice or pro-life. I don't think we need to be there. I think we need to take a step back and really look at it in a case-by-case situation, because I just gave you two scenarios, and I gave you one scenario where I'm pro-choice and one scenario where I'm pro-life. But I think that's what we need to do as not only a country, but as people. You can't just, it's not black or white here. There's so much gray area. And I know the Republicans probably won't like my answer, but you know what? I speak what I mean, and I mean what I say, and I'll leave it at that. But it's definitely, I don't have a cookie cutter answer for that. I think it needs to be taken case by case, and every scenario is different.
Exactly. Every scenario is very different, because I have another question. These days, everything, technology and everything is so hi-fi and super sophisticated that people can know that if a child is healthy, or if there is any kind of abnormality, through different tests and examinations. For example, there is CVS, there is FISH, there is amniocentesis. There are so many ways of ultrasound, that it would exactly say that if there is any kind of abnormality in a child. So in that case, sometimes the parents have to take a decision to abort the child. I'm also very much pro-life. We are going to talk about climate change, also about different kind of life and peace and harmony and whatnot. And to me, taking a life or killing a life is like a kind of like a cold-blooded murder. Of course it is. But when there is no choice left, if there is any kind of abnormality that that your child is going to born with certain problems and disabilities, in that case, sometimes, what do you say?
Yeah, that's a situation where I'm pro-choice, because I don't believe in bringing that child in if they're going to have a miserable life. I also believe, and I'll give you another example, people in extreme poverty. I think they should have access to abortion, and we see thousands and thousands of abortions a year because the mother can't afford to feed the child, so they'd rather have an abortion. I'm not opposed to that. I think it's immoral to bring a child into the world that can't be cared for, that won't have a good life, and that won't be happy. So on those situations, I'm very much pro-choice. Again, I think, if you're 8 or 9 months in, and you're about to have a child and there's nothing wrong with it, I draw the line. How pro-choice can you be at that point if it can live on its own? But to answer your question, I don't believe in bringing a child in who's not going to have a humane life and who's not going to have a great life. And in that situation, I'm okay with being pro-choice. See, again, I can't classify myself in one way or the other. I look at everything by scenario. So I'm not, I very much ebb and flow on the spectrum depending on what's going on. And in the situation you just named, I mean, that's a situation where I would be totally for access to abortion.
Right. So let's just talk about the second part, which is kind of really concerning. Now let's talk about the inflation in China and Turkey. So talking about China, China is already suffering from a downhill economy caused by severe COVID lockdowns all across the country. So do you think that China will attack Taiwan and try to win it as US is fearing? I mean, in this situation, also, Xi Jinping is running his third term. So do you think that 2023 is a make or break for China's leadership?
Well, I personally don't believe that China has free and fair elections. So I think Xi Jinping is going to win no matter what. I don't, even if he's unpopular, even if he doesn't have the support or will of the people, I think he's going to stay in power. Because I don't trust the Communist Party of China at all, and I don't trust them to have a free and fair election. As for Taiwan, I've been saying for years that they were going to invade Taiwan. I was one of the first, and people called me crazy. And now, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about it. I think that is going to depend on what happens in Russia. And we'll talk about Russia in a little bit. I know that. Depending on the end result there, and depending on the UN response there, and we'll get into that a little bit later, that will determine whether China invades Taiwan. If the UN essentially is pacifist and doesn't do anything and appeases, just like Hitler was appeased, I could see China going into Taiwan saying, hey, there's no consequence, nothing's going to happen. If the Ukrainians end up winning, or the Russians win and there's UN action against them, or US action against them, then I could see China saying, well, I don't want to end up like that. We're not going to do it quite yet. So I think this is all going to be determined in the next couple months, depending on what happens in Russia. I think it's a chain reaction. I think it's a domino effect. I don't think they're going to make that decision until they see what happens in the Russia-Ukraine situation. As for inflation over there too, their economy had record exports for years coming into COVID, and also a record trade imbalance between China and the United States. Under Donald Trump, that trade imbalance was beginning to shrink a little bit, but now it's right back to where it was. So they're exporting tons of goods. They're making a lot of money. It's just the price of goods and the cost of goods. And as you said, the shutdown is causing supply chain issues over there. So if they can kind of tweak their economy and stop with these shutdowns and get their supply lines and supply chains back on track, and they're become an exporting juggernaut, just like they have been, and continue to do so, I think they'll be okay economically. Even if they have economic turmoil, I don't see it changing anything politically, because I don't trust Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party to hold a free and fair election. So if 99% of the people don't like him, I think he'll still win.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Turkey. So Turkey is now facing the world's sixth highest inflation rate. The Turkish lira is plunging in value, high inflation, rising borrowing costs, and correspondingly rising loan defaults. Recep Tayyip Erdogan came in power on the basis of economic stability, and now there is a big economic instability. So do you think that there is any kind of recovery?
I sure hope so. And I think part of it also, again, this ties into the Russia-Ukrainian situation, because Turkey's also facing, just like most, I'm going to call them two developed nations, if you will, nations that aren't quite, as developed as China and the US, but are more developed than, let's say, sub-Saharan African countries. You're seeing in these countries huge influxes of wheat prices, because Russia and Ukraine produce about 25% of the world's wheat. So now that there's all these fluctuations going on in the market, you're going to see wheat fluctuations and wheat shortages in these developing to developed countries. And that's going to cause, in my opinion, civil unrest because of food shortages. So I sure hope the economy recovers in Turkey, in part because I think, unlike China, where if the economy tanks, they have such a strongman government and authoritarian government, there really won't be civil unrest. In Turkey, We've seen they're in a region where the Arab Spring just 10 years ago, 11 years ago, took out many of the nations there, and they still haven't recovered. I mean, Syria is still in civil war 11 years later. Some of the other countries around there are still unstable after revolution and rebellion. So I don't want to see Turkey end up like that. Why did these countries fight the Arab Spring, and why did these groups come out? Mostly because of economic anxiety, because of economics, and because people are starving, people are hurting. So I don't want to see that happen in Turkey. I think Turkey is more vulnerable than China, in part because of geography, and in part because of the fact that they are a democratic country and that they don't have the authoritarian grip that China does have. So I'm hoping the economy recovers over there, because if it doesn't, we're not only talking about economic anxiety, you could be talking about civil unrest, civil war, possibly regime change right on the border of between Asia and Europe, because obviously, Turkey's strategically placed, and they have done tremendous work in working with the Europeans, especially in countering terrorism. So if their president is taken out or their government is taken out because of economic anxiety or because of civil or military unrest, that whole alliance with Europe goes away, and all of a sudden we lose a critical point of contact in the Middle East.
Right. So, in my understanding, it is kind of funny and strange, but it is the fact both China and Turkey's have some kind of similarity. Okay. So, I mean to say that both China and Turkey, they have some kind of similarities.
Mhm.
Now, they both have red flags, and both are facing a major economic turmoil. Both will have a re-election in 2023. Both presidents are almost, I would say, same height and build and age. Also, both are kind of like friends of Russia, and both have some differences in opinion with us. So, where do you see these two red flag countries going? What is the future?
Again, I think Russia, Ukraine, I'm sorry for continuing to repeat this, but I think that's going to determine both countries' fates. I think if Russia can take the eastern part of Ukraine without consequence, China will then invade Taiwan, and I think you'll see China become an expansionist country. I don't think their economic woes hurt them at the end of the day, simply because of the type of government they run. But we'll also see who's going to be president in 2024, because I think that's going to be key too. If Joe Biden is reelected, I think China is going to become stronger. I think China will continue to expand. I think we're already seeing, in the last few years, China and India have been fighting on the border, not officially, but there have been skirmishes between soldiers. There's no guns allowed in that border zone, but people have been killing each other with rocks and sticks. There's videos of it if you look online. So I think that gets worse depending on who's president. I think if another Democrat gets in, or if maybe Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis is elected, I think China is going to have a different approach. We also have to see what happens with the Senate this year. You have candidates running throughout the country in our Senate that are very anti-China, such as J.D. Vance out of Ohio, as well as Tim Ryan, the Democratic nominee out of Ohio. So I think if these guys get up to the Senate and they start to make a lot of noise against China, you might see bills being passed in our country that weaken China. So I think there's a lot of different routes to take with China in determining their future. First, you have the foreign policy geopolitical route of what's going on in Russia, Ukraine. You have our domestic policy as to who do we elect to our Congress to pass laws, to pass bills, to pass foreign policy. And you have who do we elect to our presidency. And I mean, right now, I support Joe Biden. He's my president, but let's be real, he doesn't command a lot of respect from the Chinese government. And I think he's not, as long as he is in, they will continue to expand or try to expand, especially with some of these military drills and military games. As for Turkey, that is definitely more dependent on what happens with the Russia-Ukrainian situation, because if the price of food and the price of wheat continues to go up, then I think they're in for some civil unrest and possibly regime change, military-wise, taking over. If the economy gets better, I think Turkey will be in a good place. I think that's all going to be contingent on whether they enter recession or not, and how quickly they can recover, which again is then contingent on what happens in the Russia-Ukrainian situation. So, they are, I think, less susceptible to U.S. domestic policy than China is. At the same time, I think there's a shorter fuse over there as to what could happen. So I'm really watching these next 6 months closely. And if things get worse economically, I don't think it's going to fare well for Turkey. And then depending on how our elections go, I think that will determine how China fares in the next few years as well. It's a lot of it's going to be contingent on push and pull with the United States. We're almost like yin and yang, right? Like we can't exist without each other. And it's just a matter of like who's pushing and who's pulling. So I think that's very key to watch.
Right. So let's talk about Title 42. So Title 42 of the United States Code is the code that addresses public health, social welfare, and civil rights. The Trump administration used Title 42 to designate hundreds of thousands of migrants for expulsion, arguing that allowing these migrants to enter the US may increase the spread of COVID-19. So it's kind of alarming to have record number of illegal immigrants to cross the border. Right now, the most number of migrants are Cuban, which is about more than 1,300 per day. Biden is already doing poorly, so how will he handle this extra baggage? Do you think that Biden may even get impeached?
I don't think he'll get impeached. Impeachment is a very tough process to go through. And also, I have to double check this, but I don't think you can pass articles of impeachment unless you have the majority in both houses or in at least one of the houses. Like in the Senate, it completely failed against Donald Trump. So I don't see impeachment happening. The Republicans don't have a majority in either chamber. And also, impeachment, it takes a lot of time. And the president has to do something seriously, egregiously wrong. I mean, here, this is a policy blunder, but he's not committing a crime. He's not doing anything maliciously. He's just a policy blunder. As for Title 42, it's a tough situation because I have a bleeding heart, as many people like to tell me, and I want to give everybody a chance to come into this country and get a job and do what they can do, and I strongly believe in that. I just believe in doing it properly, and being able to be vetted, being able to, like, if it were up to me, I think everybody coming in would be given a tax ID number and a plan. You have 6 to 10 years to become a citizen. We'll review that based off, what kind of, life you're living here. As long as you don't commit any crime, as long as you're a good citizen, you're working, then we'll grant you residency. Then after that, we'll grant citizenship. So I do think, and, make sure people are paying taxes the entire time while doing it. So I don't necessarily think that, just closing off the border completely is a good idea. I don't think just letting in millions of people unvetted, we have no idea who they are, going everywhere, that's bad policy too. Because even though 99.9% of the people coming over are good people, you get 0.1% who aren't, who have other ambitions and who have other, things on their mind to do. For example, 97 countries or people from 97 countries have now crossed through the southern border, some of whom have been linked to Al Qaeda and ISIS. That's not good. We have no idea who these people are. We have no idea what they're doing and what their plots are. With that being said, again, 99.9%, I'd even say, are coming here for work. They're good people. They go to church every week. They keep their family together. They just want to work. And I'm all for that. But we do need a system, and we need to make sure the people coming in are properly coming
Aaron,
in.
right now the situation is very difficult because we are facing a lot of unemployment, domestic violence. Gun violence is beyond control. I mean, there has been, so much of gun violence going on. I mean, like less than 24 hours, there has been a shooting in a supermarket in Buffalo, New York.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is a very difficult situation, and we are sending billions of dollars to help Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine to fight against Russia. So it's like, as you always keep saying, that, trying to pour tea from an empty cup. So we have to first feed our own people and, take care of our own people before, letting so many people from other countries to in. So how are we going to feed them?
So I do agree with you there, and that's part of the reason I said people need to work, right? We can't just let them in and let them get on public assistance or let people get over on us with welfare. What we also have in this country too is an aging population. People are getting older, so we are going to need a younger base to come in and provide payments into Social Security and payments into taxes so that we can take care of our elderly citizens. So we do need an influx of immigrants. That already shows it too. We have a shortage of carpenters, shortage of plumbers, shortage of electricians in this country. And we're going to need about 150,000 more of these tradesmen in just those three fields in the next 5 years. So I think it'd be important to get younger immigrants coming in, learning these trades, and not getting any public assistance. I'm very much against giving public
And
assistance.
cheap labor, yes, cheap
Yeah,
labor, that you can add.
yeah.
And
Well,
uh,
that's a tough one for me too, because that undermines American wages. If people can pay somebody $4 an hour, $5 an hour instead of having to pay them minimum wage, then it undercuts our jobs and undercuts our wages, and that's why wages in certain industries remain so low. But again, at the same time, my heart does go out for these people because they just want what we want, a better life, somewhere safe to raise their kids. And another thing we could do, in my opinion, instead of sending $40 billion to Zelensky, send $40 billion to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, and let them rebuild their country so people stop leaving. I mean, that's the key. We have to remember, why are people coming here? Because clearly something is going on in their country. And in those three I just named, there's a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs. So if we're going to help anything, I think we should be giving a leg up and investing in countries to clean up themselves rather than funding some war that I don't even know where my money is going to overseas right now. I have no idea what Zelensky is using it for. I mean, how do you even run through $40 billion? Like, can I have $1 billion and I guarantee you I won't ask you for another dollar for the rest of my life? No, they're just running through all this money. And, it'd be better served if we re-implemented what I'm going to call the Monroe Doctrine from, 1823, I believe it was, when Monroe wanted to unite the northern and some southern hemispheres and give aid to South America and Central America to help them rebuild so we could have a strong Western hemisphere. I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, it would actually save us money because then less people would be coming over and using resources over here. So it's a tricky situation because I want to help people, but I also recognize, as you said, we have our own issues to solve and we need help here. And then one of my other critiques too of having open borders, all the fentanyl coming in. I don't know if you know this. Did you see the report last week that we had a record number of deaths in 2021 from drugs? 107,000 Americans died from drugs last year, which is up from 93,000 the year before. Now, where do all these drugs come from? The fentanyl is shipped from China to Mexico. And a lot of these opioids and meth and heroin is manufactured in Mexico and sent up the border. So we do need to not only stop the insanity going on at the border because of we just don't know who's coming in, but also because of what's coming in, and that's drugs, and that's there's prostitutes coming in who are sex slaves that are being trafficked in. So on a humane level, we can do better. It's really not that
I know,
hard.
like drug trafficking, human trafficking, these are some of the crucial issues. And I mean, I know that there are more warehouse jobs now than office jobs because so many people, they are currently working from home. They have their home offices. And if you talk about like all this, what do you call it, blue collar laborers,
Mhm.
there are also, so much of costs have been curtailed. So I don't know that how we are going to bring new jobs in and feed them, feed our guests and feed our own country.
Well, a lot of that too has to do with regulation. If you look at, there was a report out the other day. I can't remember who wrote it, but they were talking about how New York and California and Massachusetts, there's so much income inequality because there's so much regulation in terms of what we can and can't manufacture in those states versus states like Missouri and West Virginia and Arkansas could considers to be Republican states, there's more of a middle class, there's more manufacturing because there is less regulation. So let's remember, regulation causes the price of manufacturing and the price of doing business to go up, not down. So when that happens, businesses take their jobs elsewhere. They'll ship them to China, they'll ship them to Taiwan, they'll ship them to Thailand, anywhere where they don't have to pay as much or follow these stringent regulations. So I think that's the key to it too. You have to get rid of some of these regulations to allow manufacturing to boom again in a safe environmental manner, and that will provide more jobs. But if we don't do that and we continue to pass these crazy regulations, I mean, I don't know if you've ever talked to anybody in the home building industry in California. It's impossible to build a home out there. You just can't do it. There's too many regulations, too many environmental regulations, too many building code regulations. It's insanity. So that's why the building boom right now is going on in Florida and Texas, not California, because of less regulation. So I think that's another thing we need to follow is the regulations in the states, which will then determine how much manufacturing can go down, how much construction can go down, which then determines how many jobs are available and who can come in and who can't come in. There's so many layers to this. It's mind-boggling. I think it's important to kind of just like peel back because it's like an onion, right?
And talking about building bridges and roads, I mean, there are limitations too. You cannot make like n number of bridges,
right.
You cannot
Right.
do that. You cannot keep on doing it. So I don't know that how will Mr. Biden make the money rolling, and bring some cash flow, because his speech about inflation, in my understanding, was not that convincing. I mean,
Right.
I know that I'm a staunch Democrat, you're a staunch Republican, and Biden is my commander-in-chief and your commander-in-chief, our commander-in-chief. But in spite of being a staunch Democrat, I don't approve this message, about inflation control. So what is your message?
So I think he's also part of his problem is he's taking this notion that spending more money is going to solve the problem, similar to the New Deal that Franklin Roosevelt passed. Government spending does not solve inflation. Government spending is why we have inflation. And the third stimulus that was passed, the COVID bill, that's what we're paying for right now, because you can't just print endless money. Trillions of dollars injected into an economy make our dollar worth nothing. So that's part of the problem too. The Congress, if Joe Biden and Congress really wanted to get this done, and I blame both sides because it's not just Democrats. This is Republicans have been spending for years and years and years. They need to cut the spending. You can't run up 30-something trillion dollars in debt, spend more than you take in, and think your dollar is going to be worth the same amount somehow. It's all tied to deficits and how much money we're borrowing and how much money we're printing. If Joe Biden really needs to take a step back with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, and Kevin McCarthy and cut spending. That's the only thing we can do. We can't keep spending the way we are. Otherwise, this is going to get worse and worse and worse. I'm a firm believer this is not going to get better anytime soon. I think we're about to enter a recession. We saw GDP shrunk 1.3% last quarter. It's going to shrink again. I can't see it, increasing. I think our economy is going to shrink. And, we're seeing, these are people's lives that we're messing with here. People can't afford basic things right now because we can't control our spending as a government. Look, if in our household, if we don't have enough money, right, we have to make some decisions, whether we're going to buy chicken tonight or steak. We're going to go with the chicken. The government doesn't do that. They spend on whatever they want, whenever they want, how much ever they want. They need to be like us and determine, look, we can't afford steak tonight. Let's buy the chicken. This is getting ridiculous. So I agree with you. I don't think President Biden's speech was great. It definitely does not ease my concerns. But I think we're too far gone. There's nothing, you can't unpass the stimulus bill. You can't unspend
exactly.
something.
We have to, I completely agree with you. And you being in finance, you have been studying finance, you are actively involved. So, we have to cut all our corners in order to save money. In my understanding, savings should be prioritized. And whoever has savings, they can, not very easily, but to a lot of extent, they can ease in their life, So let's talk about the world economy and the climate change. So war and conflict between Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Palestine have created a huge super dent and setback in the world economy. This has resulted in an intense domestic violence, crimes, suicides, foreclosures, and several mental illnesses. Climate change is a tremendous environmental challenge. Why? The world leaders are not focusing on peace in spite of knowing how important and inevitable peace is.
It's very sad. It is. And you're right. I think climate change is one of our biggest threats that we need to battle. I think there's others as well. There's authoritarianism, there's extremism, there's all sorts of things going on. But no climate means we can't fight about anything else, right? I mean, this is basic stuff here. So I think we need to go into funding things that will bring us together. The Great Green Wall in Africa. Have you ever heard of that? Where they're planting billions of trees across 13 different countries in Africa to try to stop some of the desertification of the forestry. Something like that is key. I think world leaders should get behind that and fund that. And also, here's another thing. The media doesn't cover this stuff. Media needs to start covering the positive things that we're doing to help the environment. I don't know if you knew, but on April 5th, California, for the first time ever, powered 100% of their energy through green energy. That's huge. That's key. I didn't hear about this in the news until last week. I had to do my own research to find it. And I'm sure, most of the viewers probably didn't know that either. So we need to highlight these things because then it will inspire other states. It will inspire other countries, other leaders to do the same thing, to plant more trees, to run their energy grid off renewable energy, to consume less products. I mean, even like I stopped drinking coffee 6 months ago. I noticed every day, now I don't have a plastic cup and a straw that I would throw out. And, I'm not buying coffee from the store, and that means less is being produced. It means less is being shipped. So I'm not telling everybody to do that. What I am asking people to do is just like make one change. If we can all make one change, instead of going to the grocery store and using a plastic bag, I know in New York, we don't have them anyway, but in other states they do, bring a reusable bag. Instead of buying a plastic Poland Spring bottle, buy a reusable Poland Spring. So where the leaders won't step up, we the individuals need to step up. The leaders are busy fighting over stupidity. We have a planet to save and a planet to conserve. So I'm on the side of logic and reason. And if the leaders don't want to do the same thing, then
Exactly. I completely agree with you, because then what is the use of celebrating Earth Day, man?
Yeah,
Why?
absolutely. Well, I actually put up, and you know me, I'm not confrontational. I don't fight people or anything. I did put on Facebook. I said, it's funny. Everybody's talking about Earth Day, and the politicians are smiling at us, and they're cleaning the streets with us. Then, like the next day, they're all gone. And I did put that up, and people were commenting, and they were like giving me thumbs up. And I don't like to be confrontational. It's true. What was the point of having Earth Day and saying how great we are and how great our environmentalists are if we're not backing them up 24/7, 365? I mean, it's, I was out in the streets this morning cleaning up. I do it every Sunday. Then after, I was helping with the planting of the trees at the local high school. So, I try to talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah,
And
please tell our viewers about the volunteer job that you do and your team does.
Sure. So we clean the streets every Sunday here in Ossining. And we're actually looking to become a not-for-profit. We're working on that. And then we're going to be providing youth jobs to help keep their streets clean, and also give some money to the youth so that they have money and they're not going to commit crime or do anything else to try to get money. And then I'm involved in some local projects to plant more trees. We planted some eastern pines today, which they were only about, this big, but they're going to be 85 feet by the time they're done. So it's we say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time to plant a tree is now. So if you didn't plant one 20 years ago, plant one now. If every American planted one tree, that's 330 million trees. And I believe it was actually President Obama and then Donald Trump who funded the planting of 1 million more, or actually I think it was 1 billion more trees throughout the national parks and the federally controlled land. So this is something that both Democrats and Republicans could get behind, starting with Theodore Roosevelt, 100 years ago, to President Biden today. And I think this is these are environmental projects that we can come together and get done for the good of the planet. And if people, like I said, if the leadership doesn't want to, so be it, because us, the individuals, will do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you are a great lover of nature and you are keeping
Thank you.
our community so clean and you're inspiring the youth to come forward and to be in the mission. So that is great, actually. So, coming back to the climate change, um, I have a question in my mind, talking about your coffee. As you said, we all know that Brazil is the coffee part of the world. And then,
Mhm.
we have witnessed the great Amazon burning. So there are so many fires, especially in California side, and there are so many natural calamities. Of course, the war is playing a very important role, and we have seen that the sea level is increasing, and we are so much afraid of the water world, of course. So, how you relate all these things together? How you tie them in one single thread?
How do I tie them in one thread? Consume less, I guess, would be my caveat to that. You often see, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Consume less does not necessarily mean you have to cut down what you use. It just means you have to cut down your waste. For example, I'm sure a lot of people make a whole pot of coffee in the morning, right? How much do they actually drink? One or
I
two
do.
cups, right? So do you drink the whole pot?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, actually, I have restricted doing that only in the weekends. And I do drink coffee. I use Java beans, for the weekends. I grind
Okay.
them. And in the weekday, just one time coffee I have to drink, and that's instant coffee.
Okay. So I guess the point is that like I know
But
people
the
who throw
rest of the
out
time, it's tea.
right. Okay. So people throw out a lot of what they don't use. So like I know somebody who makes a full pot and they only drink one cup. Well, what's the point?
That's wasted.
Right?
That's a
It's wasted.
wastage. Uh-huh.
So when I say how do we tie it all together, or you ask me that rather, my answer is consume less. If you know you only drink a cup, only put enough beans in for one cup. If I know I'm only gonna, eat something in bulk, or something I eat every day, I'm gonna buy it in bulk in one big package than little individual size packages. I don't buy individual water bottles. I refuse. Even though I always have a gallon of water with me because then I could just refill my gallon the entire week and then that's what I drink. If I were to buy the little bottles, I would go through over 200 water bottles a week. I can't, it's not good for the environment. So consume less, and if you won't consume less, find ways to consume economically and find ways to consume, what's the word I'm looking for? Efficiently, if you will. Because then I have my whole gallon and I buy that gallon once a week. It's only, it's plastic. So I'm still, obviously consuming plastic. I'm consuming a lot less plastic than somebody who drinks as much water as me drinks, out of the 16-ounce things. That's how I would tie it together. Use less, consume less, and be conscious. If you take a 10-minute shower every day, take an 8-minute shower. If you leave the water on when you brush your teeth, turn the water off. I mean, there's everybody do one little thing. It's not that.
Aaron, I completely agree with you because I have substantially curtailed my office expenses, like coffee, then, disposable paper, cups, plates, spoons, napkins, I
Mhm.
mean, I use towels. Then I wash my dishes. It's not like disposable paper, plates, cups, spoons, less plastic. So it's like that's what I did, and that's what most people they have been doing. And since there are more home offices these days, caused from 2020, so I'm pretty sure that that kind of bulk rate shopping, from Costco and maybe purchasing online, that's kind of substantially been taken care of. But you know what? I mean, the climate change and all that, I mean, it's like unbelievable because of the war. I mean, first we had COVID, then this Russo-Ukrainian war, then off and on between Israel and Palestine, and then, what not. I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know
the
what else to
only
say.
the only good thing that came out of COVID for the environment, well, two good things. Not that anything good was COVID related, but one is we stopped traveling as much, so that's good, right? Less emissions, and two, less children being born, which means less resources. So less resources being used. So I think I'm not obviously I don't support COVID and I don't support the pandemic, but it did have a couple
And
good.
also, COVID, I mean, we are meeting so much on Zoom, and all companies, they have their internal Zoom. It has different names. So, I mean, before people didn't have a concept that how they're going to meet with their client and do a meeting, without meeting
Hmm.
face to face in person. But now, electronically and virtually, I mean, people, they're so much used to, for example, Erin, I haven't met you yet, and we are friends, and this is your sixth show, man. So
Right?
can
Yeah.
you believe, I mean, this all
Well, we
happened.
met. Well, we met once, like
Oh
four
yes,
years
I
ago.
mean, actually
Yeah,
twice, but
twice.
at
Yeah,
that time, yes,
but you're right.
Rob
In
Astorino's
terms of
office.
no, I haven't met you since I haven't seen you in like 4 years almost, 5 years almost. Yeah, that's a good point. And yet, we're good friends. We talk all the time, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly,
that's a good point.
So there is always a silver lining in a dark cloud. So that is the silver lining, I mean, cutting cost and cutting all the office expenses. Then, as you say, plastic and all this recycling, and not using disposable, not using napkins, but using towels and all
Yeah.
these things. I mean,
I catch myself doing that all the time. I wash my hands all the time. I'm a germaphobe.
exactly.
The
And
paper towels are
everybody has this,
yeah,
to clean the hand sanitizers
yeah.
and stuff.
And I have the paper towels right next to my sink, and then I have a dish towel over, past my sink. And I go to reach the paper towel. I say, no, Aaron, no, go get the dish towel. So I caught myself. I've been like you, I'm trying to use less paper, and I only use a paper towel if like, I'm giving like a cookie to someone or, something like that, you know, I don't
Right.
use it not to dry my hands because it's a waste.
And also, I have been using efficient dishwashing machines,
Mm,
laundry machines, all these things, washing, I mean, all kinds of stuff, like fast and quick ones, which will consume less water.
right.
But, I mean, we are all very reasonable, considerate people. We are common people. We are very friendly people. We know how to spread love, right? But my question to you was that our leaders who are in a big position, right? They know what peace is, how peace is inevitable, to what extent, how we have to save. But why there are so many conflicts? Why can't they just virtually meet, or if they want, they can always face to face meet, shake their hands. If not, they don't want to shake their hands, they can wave their hands.
Right.
And how, I mean, why there are so many conflicts?
Because there's too much greed. That's the problem. And a lot of these leaders are controlled by corporations and controlled by billionaires and controlled by people with another agenda. They don't work for us. They work for Wall Street, and they work for these big conglomerates. So it's all, in my opinion, it all comes down to greed and how much money can be made instead of common good and what's okay for us. And I probably sound like more like a communist by saying that. And I'm not a communist, but I do believe that, we need to put people before profits and people before these corporations. So once the leaders can do that, I mean, the other thing is like, what are they doing? Why do they keep selling us out for this stuff? When most of them are rich anyway, they don't need any more money. They have, big houses, as many cars as they want. They're not starving. Why do they keep selling us out? I think it's because of greed. They want more.
Yeah, that's the thing, and also, broken families, that is also one reason that people there internally, they are very unhappy. And people, see, sadism is such a thing that which comes from an unhappy person, from an unhappy mind. If a person is happy with his family or her family, if the person is happy within himself or herself, then there is no time, to think about attacking another country, or maybe, bombing a country if there is a difference in opinion. Okay, you don't like me. Okay, let me just, devastate you. And how can
That's
I
the
devastate
problem.
you? I will just drop a bomb,
Some people, I think it was from the Batman movie, right? Some people like to watch the world burn, right? Because they ask, why are there evil people? And it's true. I'd say 99% of us are good people, but you have a 1% that are unhappy and angry, and they want to just wish misery and calamity on the rest of us. So, number one, we have to stop electing these people. I mean, that's key. And two, we need to stop being so reactionary. I mean, somebody threatens us, we know we can win a battle. Why even say it? Just ignore them. I mean, this is very the biggest thing you can do to a bully is ignore them. If you punch a bully back or if you beat up somebody else, it's just going to escalate things. So I think that's part of the problem too. We need to be patient, we need to be understanding, and we need to stop giving in to just stupidity at the end of the day.
Yeah. And there is a hugely competitive mind that, my country is not doing that well, so I don't want the other country, to do well, So
Right. That's
this
the
kind
problem.
of,
Is everybody, it's not just countries, it's people. We always compare ourselves to others. I never, I always look at myself. I'm happy with who I am. I have clothing on my back, I have food on my table, I have a roof over my head. What do I care what somebody else is doing? I'm fine. I don't care what somebody else is doing. Who has more money than me, who has more success than me. It doesn't matter to me. I'm happy. I think we need to look at it like that. Do you have the basic necessities you need? And if you do, I think you should, be happy with that instead of comparing yourself to others, like you just said, right? When you compare yourself, there's always going to be people doing better. There's always going to be people doing worse. Key is, are you doing the best you can? And if you're doing the best you can, then it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing.
Aaron, there is one other quick question about this peace of mind.
Sure.
See, people, in their own ways, they follow their religion. Okay, so people, they end up going to churches, to synagogues, to temples, to masjids.
Mhm.
But do you think that they practice what they preach? Do they follow? They are really like spiritually rich, or do you think that these people, those who are the troublemakers of the world, they they need help?
Well, I think a lot of them don't practice what they preach, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on what Bible or the Quran or the Torah say or what other religions say because I'm not an expert. I'm pretty sure there's a verse in all of them that talks about love thy neighbor. There's a verse that talks about do unto others what you want done to you, right? Isn't that like the golden rule of Christianity? And I'm not blaming Christians for everything. I think every group has crazy people in it. But no, these fundamentalists are not following what their God would want. I mean, I think in every religion, the God or the spiritual being is always a loving person, right? So how would a loving person or a loving being want you to be violent, attack somebody else, and be intolerant of anybody else? It doesn't make sense to me. I would say again, I've been using this 99% thing for our entire friendship. 99% of religious people probably believe and follow their religion and live to that T. Then 1% take the extreme and they don't have love, they have hate, and they're not practicing what God or Yahweh or Allah or any of the other beings would want you to practice. They're crazy. So again, I'm pretty sure every one of them has something in there that says love thy neighbor, and yet we see people fighting all the time. How can you go to church on Sunday and then go home and hate your neighbor? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the person has to be happy, within himself or herself. So that is the key thing. It doesn't matter that whether the person is single or married or separated or divorced or widowed. It is just that the person needs to be happy. If I have happiness in my mind, then, I will try to see the whole world from that kind of look
Mhm.
inside, sight. But if I'm not very happy within myself, it is that I will try to be destructive. And that I will try to name, oh my God, I'm so patriotic, I love my country. I have created so many jobs, I mean, I had been aiding this country, but actually I'm not practicing what I preach,
Right.
right?
Right. Absolutely. And that's people need to look within and find happiness. Easier said than done, but it needs to be done.
So as a closing statement, please tell us that how to find happiness, where to find happiness.
Um, I mean, again, I'm very simplistic, and in the way that, again, I just like, I'm happy that I'm on this show. I'm happy I woke up today. I'm happy I have this shirt on. Like, I'm happy over like the little things. So I encourage other people to do that. I'm 24. It
You
wasn't
should
really
be
till,
very happy that you have contributed so much to the nature, to the environment, and
oh
through your
yeah. Well, I'm happy with my
teamwork.
accomplishments as well, but I also recognize not everybody, and not to be arrogant, but not everybody can do what I'm doing for the environment. And that's just because I enjoy doing it. But people might not want to spend their Sunday doing it, cleaning up. I think a couple years ago when I was 21, 22, it's just like the little things that started to matter to me. I mean, I'll go outside and I'll look at like a flower and the way it looks, and just like look at it for 10 minutes and like analyze it and stuff like that, or like the way like a tree grew, or like the way a cloud looks in the sky. So I guess my closing statement is like, look for the little things, because it's the little things that will make you happy in life and lead to the big things to make you happier. I just, again, I'm happy that I woke up. Life is a blessing as it is. We should be happy that, that we woke up. For our viewers who are living in peace, they should be happy they're living in peace, right?
Right.
There's
Aaron,
people.
let me just, interrupt you. I
Sure,
know
sure.
that you are an animal lover and you have 3 cats, 3 dogs, a perfect harmony. And one of the dog, oh my God, he is so big.
Thank
And
you.
I
I'm
have seen,
actually, unfortunately, my 17-year-old basset hound passed away last week, so I'm down to 2 dogs for now. Um, you're right, I did have three, and then the other one, my Great Dane, is huge. She's very big. And then I think our viewers saw my other dog coming in earlier, but my basset hound unfortunately passed away. Rest in peace. She had a great life, peaceful life, and we miss her. We will definitely carry on her mission and rescue another dog in her name, in her honor.
so I keep on seeing pictures that, you are either in a wood or, you have a very big and beautiful backyard. So you play with your animals, your pets.
Yes.
And also, you do a lot of excursions, I believe, right?
Well, yes. I mean, I do. So my backyard is where like you'll see, the fencing and everything, and then where you see the woods, that's my farm. I own a farm upstate. So sometimes I'm at my farm, sometimes in my house in Westchester. So that's where you'll see like the brook and the creek and everything like that. In terms of excursions, I don't leave the state. Believe it or not, everybody thinks like I go travel and do. I don't leave the state. I stay in New York. I just go do things I want to do. Like I go to like the Bronx for a pizza slice, or I go to Manhattan to go look at like museums, or I'll go up to my farm and I'll go like look around at nature. I do, I get out there, and I think that's another key to my happiness, in my opinion, is getting the sunlight, because I get so much sunlight for being outside all day that I have such high vitamin D levels, and vitamin D levels are so key in fighting depression and anxiety and all that. And I don't have any of that stuff, in part because I get so much sunlight, and that's why I like to be a ray of sunshine.
Right,
You
exactly,
know,
So, in your understanding, that's why I am asking you all these questions because,
sure.
I also feel that food, good food, good healthy food and nature, they
Yeah.
both, bring happiness and peace of mind because, see, when people go for a vacation, say for an example, I mean, they actually, along with sightseeing, they do 3 things. First of all, they try to get good food. Number 2 is like, sightseeing means to be with nature. And
Mhm.
number 3 is shopping, and number 4 is music. Okay. So these are the 4 things that people usually do when they go for a vacation. Okay. So I'm just trying to tell our friends, and also I'm trying to help people through this show that how a person can feel happy within himself, and accomplished. Like, as you say, the tiny little things, bring a lot of happiness. For example, you take care of your pets who are like children to you. Then, you take care of your mother. Then you take care of your farm. You take care of the community. You have so many volunteers in your team that you take care of them. I know that your Christmas giveaway was like basketballs, about like 25 basketballs you distributed. You keep on going to the local schools and you treat them, you give them so much, so these are the things, giveaways and healthy food and sightseeing and obviously, nature. So these are the things. And what else can bring peace of mind? Because right now we have to focus peace.
Right. I think doing one good thing a day is a good start for people. And it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be expensive, but you can hold the door for somebody at the grocery store. You can tell somebody you like their shirt, right? I mean, it's like one good thing a day just to start a chain reaction. I think that's very key. I think you hit a good point on food, right? I started eating 7 servings of vegetables a day starting 2 weeks ago. So not recent. And I was eating vegetables before and stuff like that. But now I make sure, like in the morning, instead of a coffee now, I haven't had coffee in 6 months, but in the morning now I have a cucumber. So, instead of a donut, I have a cucumber, and it's delicious and it's refreshing. It wakes you up, and it has B1 vitamin as well as some other vitamins in it that they say like helps you get your day started. It has like the effect of caffeine, but not caffeine. So I think that's the key. Do one good thing a day. Also, I think eating the fruits and vegetables is very key. And I don't like how some of them taste. I like how they make you feel, So I hate eating broccoli. I eat a whole bunch every day. And then I feel good. Like I feel like my mental health is good. Like I'm losing weight. My muscles look more different because of, the vitamins and nutrients that I'm getting. So I don't like to eat healthy. I eat healthy. And at the end of the day, it makes me feel better. So I think that's key too. So I would say do one good thing a day for others, then also do one good thing a day for yourself, eating more vegetables and more fruit.
Right. No, I really agree with you about coffee because, I love to drink coffee. Okay.
Mhm.
And all my friends know that I'm a coffee lover. Okay. Now, caffeine is such a thing, it sometimes makes a person very super hyper. Okay. Okay. So, caffeine is not that good. That's why I substantially curtailed on my drinking coffee. But sometimes, I feel good because, I kind of work late night, like almost 2 a.m. in the morning. And then I start my day between 8 and 9 in the morning. So sometimes, when I go to sleep, it is like I'm tired. And when you are so tired, you cannot right away go to sleep. So uh, like I actually go through a very nice overnight sleep, but still, when I wake up in the morning, I kind of feel very tired and sometimes very sleepy also. So to keep myself going, I need some kind of caffeine. So it is like a general question that, like how can we have a better sleep procedure, any
You're asking,
suggestion?
you're asking the wrong person about sleep. Um, I think when it comes to sleep, I started this new routine of trying to go to sleep by like 10:30, 11, and then I wake up at like 7. So this way I can get 8 hours or so. It's tough advice to give because I'm also, I'm a law school student. I work full time, but I also work for myself. If I want to sleep in, I'll sleep in. It's a tough advice to give. I also don't have kids, so that doesn't affect me in terms of sleep pattern. I guess my best advice is, 6 to 7 hours a night. Also, if you could find time during the day from 4 o'clock to 4:10, I take a 10-minute nap every day and I feel so refreshed for the afternoon.
Yeah, that is a very good tip, because in the midday, it is like a power nap, power
Yeah.
nap, yeah, boosts you up and, you feel very refreshing. So
Right.
that is one of the great tip, that you gave that I always do, most of the time, whenever and however I get a chance, I do it. So that's like very good. And today's topic was mainly how to bring peace, and we kind of covered every single thing. There are so many issues on our plate, and since it is the summertime, it's just going to be summertime. It's still spring, so definitely, as you said, that maybe for the upcoming Father's Day episode, we can talk about the foreign policy of the tropical countries and the tropical state. For example,
Sounds good.
Hawaii.
Sounds good. And as always, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's always a pleasure, and we talk about good things. So I appreciate your points of view, and I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully your listeners come out with something they didn't know.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Aaron, for your so much effort to make our audience understand about peace of mind, about climate change, about foreign policy. And of course, we need young, energetic, talented, charismatic, well read, well educated commander in chief like you. And I think, young people, they have freshness and they know technology so much better and about the environment so much better, irrespective of which political party you follow. I
Right.
mean, yes, of course. So let's see how it goes. And I pray to God that peace comes in the world so that, the essential commodities price hike gets reduced, the gas price, and also, peace of mind, happiness. That's the crucial thing. And people can sleep well, sleep tight, and say good night.
Well, thank you again, and good night to the audience.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.